Hey friends, Dennis here. Just coming to you with a quick video about EOS R and settings. Let's get in it. So as most of you know, I purchased an EOS R just about a couple weeks ago. And I want to talk about a few things that just make the camera easy for me to use. I mentioned I came from the SL2. SL2, a Canon camera, was a very entry-level exchangeable lens DSLR. Very simple buttons, not very many options, but Canon makes a great touchscreen, so of course you get to a lot of the things that way through the Q button. You're able to get to all these settings and change it. But I've been using that for a year and a half, so the types of things I change have been pretty basic, maybe not advanced. A lot of people talk about, oh, I love this camera, and there's so many buttons, there's so many things to do. But because Canon has such a good touchscreen and user interface, you're able to dial down into so many things quickly. But I'm finding great ways to utilize EOS R's custom button functions to allow me to get to things a lot quicker, which is great. Things I didn't even really think about before. For instance, I have the EOS R here, two modes, right? I have photo mode and I have video mode. I, of course, from the biggest point or perspective, worry about three things, right? Your shutter speed, your ISO, and your aperture. So in photo mode, it's really easy to change those things. I have two dials, front dial, back dial. So you have shutter speed, you have aperture. And the way I have it set it up is I use this multifunction button. I hit the multifunction button once, and I'm able to scroll through my ISO, and that's how I change my ISO. The multifunction does have a lot of different things. You can actually click it and then use your back wheel to go through some different settings, but I don't use hardly any of those things. I just stick to what I use, right? So ISO, shutter speed, aperture, pretty common, right? The next biggest thing that I like to do is I use the autofocus button. So this is editing Dennis here, and I have to say, you'd think I know how I had my own camera set up, but I made a mistake. Autofocus button, AF on. I have that used to turn servo on and off, right? So basically continuous autofocus, turns that servo on and off. And then I have the star button. I have the star set up to switch me through the autofocus modes, whether it be eye tracking, single point, or kind of a small area. Those are the 2 points that I use. And that's really it for my photo. That's what I use. I don't really use anything else. I don't need anything else for my level of photography. Maybe as I progress, I will be changing that up. Next thing is video, right? What do you use in video? Often your shutter speed stays the same, right? Dependent. But because I'm so used to this being shutter speed, I didn't change anything. So I left those main buttons the same. Still, if I click this, I change my shutter speed. If I hit the button and change it, is my ISO. My back wheel here is my aperture. And so from here, what do I want to change? I'm typically in eye or face tracking mode. That's kind of the mode that I'm in often. But I set up the autofocus button to turn off the servo. So if I lock in on focus and I hit that button, it actually turns off autofocus and just stays right where it is. So that way it's not pulsing if I'm locked on. So I'm able to turn that on and off real easy. So it's very similar to like clicking your camera into manual mode. It just shuts it off and it stays right there. So I'm able to click that button on and off. Again, that's all I really need. I did set up the bar, which so many people hate. As I understand it, I set it up for Kelvin. So it is locked, so I can hold the button, unlock it, and I can change my color balance in Kelvin. But often I kind of set that and then leave it. It's not too hard to set. I'm able to do it even for my menu or my Q screen. Those are my customizations that I use. I love them. It makes things just so much easier. I didn't even realize that I was missing out on that using the EOS R, being able to change that. But I know, I'm sure as I advance, I'm going to change my techniques. But I watched quite a few videos, and that's kind of what I landed on how I like to do it. Jesse Driftwood did a great video with Cody Warner on how they set up the EOS R when Cody finally switched over to a Canon with autofocus, because he was shooting on the GH5 with a manual lens, vlogging, might I add, with no. Well, no, it had a flip screen, right? I don't even know. But he was manual focusing on himself for over a year, and he must be a master. I, unfortunately, am of the lazy generation, and I have grown up with great autofocus and never really learned how to use manual focus. I have to say though, the EOS R has a great focus assist, and it uses these two like arrows that kind of go back and forth as you're tuning in your manual focus. I've used that a few times when I was trying to focus in on something far away on like a 100 to 300 that's a really old lens and doesn't autofocus very good, and that has been very helpful. Never really used any other lens in autofocus. So I know this was a quick video, but I just haven't made anything in a while, really thinking about all the things that are going on in this world, COVID, sitting at the house, got all these cameras, and I don't know what to make a video about. But just trying to get in that challenge and really just communicate with you guys. I hope that I can continue to make videos and come off like I'm actually talking to somebody instead of preaching at a bunch of people. So to be more relatable, I want to develop that personality and that ability in front of the lens. Well, thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe, comment below if you have any questions, and God bless.